Because when you stop it going backwards, it levels you out. Because it's designed for you to go forward. You can spin around all you want, but if you want to get your balance, you got to practice being able to just, keep it from rolling back. And when I saw that, the Holy Ghost spoke into me. If I could just get the people of God to see they shouldn't be going backwards in life, but they just need to know how to stop from going backward, because the plan that God has for you is for you to move forward in your destiny, move forward in your grace. If you could just learn to stop going back in sin, going back to that old person, going back to that old lifestyle, going back to the street, going back to those drugs, going back to those activities. If you can learn how to stop going backwards, it's real easy to go forward if you can stop going backward. It's real easy to go in your destiny with God's plan for you, to start that business, to do His will, to go in the ministry, to get your family back on track, to get you, if you could just stop going backwards. Well, in this text today, the Hebrew writer is reminding that we've got to go forward. There is a race marked out for you. That means he's saying God has already laid out where He wants you to go. Like Sister Morton said, look, there's some stuff God already designed it and placed it. He knows what He wants for your life. He's put it out there for you. You just got to run the race that He's already set out for you. He's laid out your destiny. God already had a plan before the foundation of the world was set. God had already marked something out for you. He marked some ups and some downs, but all of that was to make you who you need to be. All of that was to grow you and strengthen you, but He's already marked out something for you. Your job isn't to go forward or backwards. Your job is to go forward. Your job is to move where He wants you. Stop going back. That's not your destiny. Stop falling back. That's not your destiny. Your destiny is ahead of you. Your ladder will be greater than your path. Your destiny is where God's trying to take you. So don't go backwards. So Paul lays it out, or the apostle lays it out, that God has already marked out a race, so let us run. And I believe he lays out some reasons why we ought to go forward. The first thing and the first reason we ought to go forward is that there are others that have gone far with less than what we have. He starts off this text in chapter 12 by saying, therefore, since you have such a great cloud of witnesses, and since we encourage you to do expository study of the word, the therefore means that something came before. Well, the Hebrews chapter 11 talks about and lists out all these people of faith. And it even when it gets to Moses, I think around verse 25 or so, or 26 or 27, it reminds us that Moses had to look ahead toward the promises of God. And all of the people that are mentioned in Hebrews 12 had to look ahead in faith. They had to trust God. They didn't have an example of the cross. They didn't have an example of Jesus. They had to trust God. They had to take God at His word. Moses had never seen a Red Sea split. He just had to believe that God could do what He said He could do. He had never seen manna fall from the sky. He just had to believe that God could do what He says He was going to do. He had never seen water come out of a rock or bitter water turn sweet. He just had to believe that God could do it. Joshua had never seen any walls like Jericho fall down. He just had to believe that if he walked around for one time for 7 days, on the 7th day, he walked around 7 more times, that they just shouted, somehow the walls would fall down. He had never seen that. That was a first-time thing. Matter of fact, he had never seen the sun stand still and pause so you could win the battle. But guess what? He had to trust and believe that God would do this thing over and over and over again. Hebrews 11 paints this great cloud of witnesses of people who went far in God, great in God, but did not have the example of the resurrected Christ, did not see the miracles of the Christ. They went far, but they did not have as much as you have. He says, he paints it, he said, with this great cloud of witnesses who had to step out on nothing and believe God would shore up the ground underneath their feet. They had to step out and trust God. Abraham had to walk 500 so miles to get to the place and then believe God would give it to him, even though he only had one son. God said, I'm going to do great things, but he did it. And even when Abraham was an old man, Abraham had to believe that God was going to do it. Isaac had to believe that God was going to do it. Jacob had to believe that God was going to do it. Joshua and Joseph had to believe that God was going to do it. They didn't know what God was going to do. They just had to trust God. They went further with less. Now, you got to look at yourself. Hold on now. You know about the resurrection of Christ. You know about his healing. You've seen folk healed in here. You've seen God deliver in here. You've seen God open doors. You have the testimony of Moses that you can stand on. You have the testimony of Joshua that you can stand on. You have the testimony of David that you can stand on. You have the testimony of Samuel that you can stand on. You have the testimony of Samson, Deborah, Othniel, Jehud, and Jephthah that you can stand on. Look, there's a whole lot of folk that have done some great things in God, but they didn't have all what you have. You didn't have all the testimonies that you have. They didn't have all the stuff that you have now that you can stand on and trust God. Look, don't go backwards simply because a whole lot of folk who should have went backwards in life decided to trust God and step out on faith and watch God work.